Welcome to Scale Her Up, the Female Entrepreneurs Show with me, Brenda Hector. I'm a business growth specialist helping business owners to develop themselves and grow their businesses so they can achieve their goals and enjoy the lifestyle they dream of. I'm also on a mission to revolutionise the entrepreneurial landscape for women in business. In every podcast episode, I interview someone who has an inspiring story or some great advice for women aiming to start or scale their businesses. If you're new to the show, take a moment to subscribe and please check out the previous ones after listening to this. We've got an awesome community on Facebook. Just search for Scale Her Up and join in. I'm absolutely delighted today to have Wendy Harris. She's the queen of conversation from Making Conversations Count. With me on the Scale Her Up podcast today, you might have heard Wendy on a previous podcast. If you look back, she was there when the mics were turned on me. So great to have you back, Wendy, so I can get my revenge.
Oh, it's lovely to see you again, Brenda, and please be kind.
Of course, of course. Would you like to share with the listeners, share your story, share how you got into business, how you became a female entrepreneur?
Gosh, it's been a real roller coaster, and I think that can be said for most people going into business. You think that you're going to start this business and have all of this, work-life balance figured out, be your own boss, make your own decisions, but nobody really tells you about the sorts of decisions that you have to make as your own boss and the discipline that it takes. But this is actually my third business. Way back in, late 90s, I was in a partnership with a friend where we sold software. And so it was like a mail order company. It was brilliant. It didn't feel like work at all. We literally just ordered stock and shipped it. Lots of lovely customers, lots of lovely conversations. And I left that business because I'd met a man. It was my downfall.
A lot to answer for, don't they?
I was on the rebound from a failed marriage. I'd got a young daughter. Thought I could rule the world. I was invincible. And I very quickly found out within a year that I wasn't, and it wasn't going to work out. So I ended up coming home and going back to an old job that I'd had when I was 17. And of course, all of my work has been around helping people through conversations, whether that be a waitress, working on the market, sitting in an office, making calls, being an account manager, going on the road as a rep. Because my daughter was kind of school age, I wanted something part-time. And I'd got my now husband, we've been together over nearly 22 years. It sort of made sense for me to just be, the office manager, look after the call centre for a local company for a while, until I got bored. And I think this is the entrepreneurial spirit in us, isn't it? That you go, well, I'm doing all of this, and I could be doing it for myself, sort of thing. So I bought a franchise that my husband lent me some savings to buy it, and we thought we did our due diligence. We took our time, we asked lots of questions, and it all seemed brilliant. I left a very good job because I'd been headhunted and promoted in the meantime. So I left a job, car, the expense account, all of those things, and thought, I'm going to do this myself. And the franchise, because it was young and growing, changed some of its core values and changed some of its contractual implications for the franchisees, of which I was not wanting to follow because I was quite happy being successful, doing it my own way. So I got locked out of my franchise and lost the whole investment. And we didn't have a legal leg to stand on to be able to fight our corner and get our investment back. So it was a really, really stressful time. But always, as one door slams, a little window creaked open. And one of the fellow franchisees who was in the same boat as me knew a lady called Lisa down in Fleet, who was running a telemarketing company. And of course, everything I was doing was like advertising. It's all promotional stuff. It's all about starting conversations and talking to people, to grow whatever.
Yeah.
But I was put in touch with Lisa, who said, I've got so much work on. Can you come and help me? So I ended up just falling out of one thing, going into something else and earning loads of money for her until she went, Wendy, she says, I'm going to retire soon. Why don't you do this for yourself where you live? I was like, got a good point. So I went back to some of the customers that I'd signed up through the franchise, because that was advertising, and said, I'm thinking about doing this. Was very transparent with them with the way that the relationship had broken down, and handed them over, because it's kind of like, it felt like I was doing a doo-doo on my own doorstep. That was the other real intriguing sort of stress and challenge of it, was that it then sort of made me very vulnerable to a lot of people that I'd got a good reputation with.
Uh-huh.
And when I went and told them about this, oh my God, I had so much work come in that's where WAG came from. And I just started doing a few hours here and a few hours there for people, literally just picking up the phone, phoning old clients, re-engaging for them, phoning people that had quoted, never bought, turning them into customers, setting databases alight. So, of course, that was 17 years ago now, which I was kind of had to sit up in my chair and go, oh, my goodness, I've had another child since then and done the school gate again. But it's been absolutely fascinating, because going from 17 years ago when websites were new to fast forward now and all the social media channels, the predictions that, people won't be picking up the phone, cold calling is dying. I mean, I saw a post yesterday that said, cold calling is dying and here's why. And it's not, because we need to have conversations with people.
So let's dig into that then. You're talking about following up on leads, picking up the phone and having conversations with old clients and things like that. For a lot of people in business, that can feel quite scary. I guess that's where your customers come from, or the business people who are reluctant to do that themselves.
Yes, and this is why I now have a 12-week program to help people find their voice so that they can translate their marketing and their sales tactics and processes into conversation that feels comfortable. Because let's face it, when you've got all of these, you should do it like this, it kind of puts restrictions on you in how you can say things, I think, because
no end of information available out there trying to help you to sell, and it can all get a bit overwhelming, can't it?
Yes, and really it's just about two things. You want to introduce yourself, you want to find out how they do things, so that, oh, well, I can help you, and if I'm helping you, then that's a win-win, because you need this help too. This is kind of where I want to get away from the cold calling. People say it's cold calling. Well, yes, and people say, oh, I'm interrupting people. Yeah, but if you're interrupting somebody with good cause and creating a good impression, and it's well researched, and you have a good feeling before you ring that it's a good match, then actually you're doing them a favour in saying, hey, have you seen what we can do over here? But you don't say, hey, look what we're doing over here. We go, hey, what are you doing over there? Yes. Oh, great. This could make it even better. So, I think it's I was doing some training, did a power up session with a lady that had done inbound customer service. So that's when somebody rings you and needs something. So you problem solve on the call. You get to the bottom of whatever it was that they rang you for. And she says, well, I don't feel comfortable in, picking up the phone and speaking to somebody. I'm like, well, it's just the opposite. Once you've identified that you've got the right person, then you're just taking that same problem and presenting a solution. And it was just about reframing that. And of course, there's tools like using LinkedIn to connect with people to start that conversation. Conversation doesn't have to be verbal. It can be written.
Yeah. It
can be an audio message on DMs in LinkedIn or WhatsApp or whatever. And it's a lot of where my customers feel that they get the best success is that if they leave a verbal message on a DM, you can hear they're genuine. They sound trustworthy. It's not pitching for pitching's sake. It doesn't feel scary or overwhelming for the listener. More chance that they're going to actually respond.
I've just had a blinding flash of the obvious, Wendy. Yes, voice messages. I've never been using voice messages.
Yeah. Those that have to, that are targeted. I was working with a company in Newcastle, and they were targeted to 120, 140 dials a day. And I remember those days. I don't do as many as that when I'm working on a campaign, because I still do it for clients. So I know what it's like out there. It's hard. People have got their own thing going on. So you're doing all of those dials, and they were hitting voicemail and not leaving a message. And I said to the management, "Oh my goodness, that's it's kind of like you might as well be putting yourself in room 101 as a pester company." Yes. Because if you imagine, I get phone calls and I don't know the number. So I'm going to see if they leave me a message, what it's about. Screening, we all do it. Try again this afternoon. Didn't leave a message again. Well, they clearly want to get hold of me to sell me something. So I'm now, as the customer, I'm controlling the narrative. You try me a third time and you don't leave a message, I'm going to block your number. First time you ring, you just leave a message. You're more likely to answer the second time.
There's a person at the other end of that. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh goodness. And it's so simple, and it makes so much sense. But why are we not doing it? So you've come through providing telemarketing services for customers, and now you're helping people to become more confident having the conversations themselves. Is that right?
Yes. I still pick up the phone for a couple of special clients. Obviously, in 17 years, I've got a good core of people that are now my mates. They come to my wedding and we get together at Christmas for drinks and things like that. But ultimately, it is all about helping people, because we can't all just sit and wait for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
Now, the flip side is when I've made that statement, people will be thinking, well, my phone doesn't ring that often. People don't ring me.
It never rings nowadays, does it? Yeah.
No. So a little like direct mail, you used to get stacks of envelopes through the door with some sales pamphlet or letter trying to get your attention. And that's dropped off because people have realised that they were getting so much that they were binning it. Emails, they were getting so many, they were just deleting them.
So you stand out if you make a phone call and you actually talk to someone. Yes.
Like a real human being that cares about what they do. Some heavy nodding of the heads going on here, listeners.
Talk me through the transition from doing the telemarketing yourself to becoming a trainer, if you like, and supporting. Was that a conscious change of direction, or did it happen gradually, or how did that come about?
It's kind of evolved over the 17 years that way back when the business was very, very young, 12 months old or something, I'd got to a client and a potential client, and I'd known them for a very long time, and they were like, I'd really love for you to work on this. I know that would be what would get me going, but I kind of want a member of staff, but I can't afford that yet. So it was kind of chicken and egg situation. And I just said, well, look, I'm quite happy to work with you. And I say this to everybody now, I'm happy to work with you and work with whoever in your team you want to bring on. I've done recruitment years and years and years ago, so I can recruit. I've had my own agents and call centre staff. So I know what I'm looking for in terms of somebody that can take it and stick with it, because it has got quite a high turnover. You do need a certain amount of resilience if you're going to be doing high volume stuff. And that was where it was born. I just got 3 months worth of work part-time, getting it up off the ground, proving that it was worth doing, that he could be closing the business, that then topped the pot back up for him to go and employ somebody. And I just sat and budded for a month with this new member of staff and got them on a handover process. And once a month, I would just go over and see how they were getting on. So it was about a 9-month project. And then they've got 3 people now doing that for the company, all based on that strategy that I've implemented right at the beginning. And that's what helps. My values are, I would much rather put myself out of a job because it's worked than it hasn't.
Yes.
Because I know I'm creating something.
You have a much, much bigger impact when you can get them up and running and going themselves, and then you can move on and help someone else.
Yes.
So it increases the impact that you're having in the community, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think you get to a certain age, I'm a mature lady now, and I think your own outlook on life becomes more the teacher and trainer and consultant, because the experience that you gain, my career spans 30 odd years now in the same field of telemarketing, telesales and account management and customer service. So from that, you need to share that with the younger generations coming through, who are all kind of like, noses to screens. Communication is so important. We can't lose that.
Yes. I don't mean to hijack the conversation here, but I'll just tell you a little story about my son yesterday. So he's got a little job, but he can't really get many more hours in that little part-time job. So he's looking for something else. And he said to me yesterday, would it be more powerful if I drive around and hand in my CV than if I just email it? He knew the answer to the question, but I was pleased someone of that generation was aware that would be more impactful. So yeah.
Similarly, my 13-year-old daughter wants to do the DAV, start on the bronze. She says, I know that it'll look good on my CV. And I'm like, well, you've got to do some work first, love, For personal reasons, it may be that she won't be able to complete it this year. So we've said, well, we'll defer it to next year. And she said, Mum, but I really wanted to do the volunteering with the Scouts, because she was a Scout herself. And I said, well, why don't you still do that then? And she went, and she finished the sentence for me saying, well, if I do that now, when I pick it up next year, they're more likely to embrace me on the programme somewhere else, because I've done it off my own back. And it's that initiative, isn't it, that we need to come through. So, Brenda, for me, the conversations, and it's not always about, telesales, telemarketing, account management. It can bleed into other areas, because I'm also a business owner with experience, third business on and all that. And I'm just intrigued by other people's experiences and storytelling and that sort of thing. So it's about trying to share as much breadth and perspective as possible, because absolutely, I can share something that somebody else has tried to share and the penny drops. So it's, and I can share something and then they come back and go, somebody else said this and now I know what you were talking about, Wendy. Yes. So it's just about building up those layers, isn't it, of different perspectives until you get it, because we are all so different.
And the number of times that the message, I could try to get the same message across, you get the message across, as our mutual friend Brad Sugars says, I'm going to keep repeating until you start doing. So, we need to keep repeating the message until the penny drops. And
funny you should mention Brad, because I was just thinking exactly the same thing when he said, so many people that he speaks to about sales calls says, it just doesn't work. Well, how many sales calls have you made? And they go 5. And they go, well, and he says, well, what do you expect? Yes. It's one of those things where practice makes perfect. Everybody talks about growth, don't they, in business? You've got to do this and this and this and this and this, and the list is endless. And I keep saying recently, this is kind of like a new mantra to me. When you grow, expect growing pains.
Yes.
Because you're not going to, just take to it naturally, because that would be the natural thing that you would do then. For me, it's natural to have conversations, ask questions and find out and investigate and research. That's my natural talent. When it comes to doing my accounts, that's my growing pain. So it's about understanding what your natural skills are and leaning into those and being able to go, well, this is going to give me growing pains. Is this going to hold me back if I do it, or do I get somebody else to do it?
Tell me about all this business experience, 3 businesses in, practice makes perfect, maybe. You can tell me about that. But what are the challenges? What were the growing pains that you've experienced?
Oh, gosh, I mean, the sky did fall in when COVID hit, because what does every business owner do when they're uncertain of the future and everything gets locked down? They just pull everything that costs them money because they retract and go, well, this is mine and I've got to protect this. They go, nobody's going to want to talk to us about new business right now, are they? So they go into protection mode. So I literally had one call from one smaller client, and I said, absolutely, and I'm not going to hold you. And they pulled the plug, and I said, I'm not going to hold you to the month's notice in the contract either. That would be unfair. I've not written pandemic in my contract.
No, none of us did we?
Yeah. So then I said to myself, I've got to have the conversation with the other 3 clients that I've got on my books at the moment. And literally everything went. They were like, oh, didn't know how to ring you and have that difficult conversation. So I went from having my best quarter ever to flatlining. And I had this conversation with Barnaby Winter recently, and I say that, business cash flow is like a heartbeat. It goes up and it blips and it drops, and then it goes back up and it blips, or the hockey stick, whichever analogy you buy into. But the trick is to when you've got that flat line, is to have the resources and to keep those resources in play so that when something hits. So because it was my best quarter ever, I'd got some revenue. So I was able to sort of carry myself forward. And that's really when I sat and went, well, at Christmas, because this was all in March, at Christmas, I'd sat over a glass of wine with my husband and said, I really have been enjoying doing the sales and marketing workshops, the 2-day masterclasses, and doing the one-to-one power-up sessions, finding out a priority for a business owner to put in place before they build further. I said, this year I'm going to do that. And then, of course, I got so busy, I didn't do any of it. So what it actually did was it gave me the blessing of time to go, okay, so I can do what I wanted to do this year, which is focus on the training, push the training, do the power-ups, aim that, on LinkedIn and what have you. And that's what I did. And that's what got me through. So I rebranded, new website, new brochures, new artwork, you name it. And those are the challenges, is to, Dr. Ivan Meisner, we had the conversation sort of slap bang in the middle of the pandemic. And I said, it was great for me because I took that fear of losing everything and drove it into action.
Created energy for it. Yeah.
It self-propelling. Then I couldn't turn around and go, I didn't try everything. Didn't do everything that I could have done, then sit there and go, well, COVID hit.
Yeah.
So it's not an excuse.
And so how's that panned out? Are things back up? Are you having your best quarters again?
Yes. It's been one of those where I've continually reinvested and I'm looking less at the bank balance and more at what I'm achieving, which might sound a little bit bizarre. As a business owner, you need to know your numbers and all that kind of business. Yes, I do. I know my break-even point. I know what's comfortable for me. And if I'm doing more than that, that means that I can actually do more of the things that I want to do. So I've got my own podcast, which has been going since November 2020. I wrote a book in lockdown that became a bestseller. So that was my way of saying, right, guys, if you can't afford me as a small business owner, but if your world's just been turned upside down and you're not quite sure how to tackle things, here's my book. This is kind of what I teach in my workshops. Take it, have it, $12.99, £2 on Kindle, have it, use it. It's written, so it's like a workbook, you can write in it, make notes, go back to it, change it. It will help you to start conversations online and then take them into the real world. That was my way of saying, here's my help.
Plug the book, Wendy. What's it called?
Oh, you might guess, Making Conversations Count.
Available on Amazon and all good booksellers, I take it?
Just on Amazon. It's a self-published affair. I've since found out that there are lots of other routes to market, but at the time I was just blinkered on those things. And that's what you learn, isn't it? You go through a process. Like writing a book is not the same as picking up the phone and delivering a workshop. It's a completely different beast. Similarly, everybody was saying, oh, you need to have a podcast. You'd be great on a podcast. Audio is your thing, blah, blah, blah. Yes, but podcasting comes with its own growing pains, doesn't it, Brenda?
That's a big learning curve to get it off the ground, and then it's happening. And then we've done another learning curve to get more and more people listening. So yes, there are challenges. Everything that you do comes with a challenge. I've learned through business and talking to business, I talk to a lot of business owners, that if you're expecting the challenges to stop after a certain period of time, then you're in for a shock, because there will just be new challenges coming.
There was a great quote I saw yesterday, and it really did. This may resonate with you, Brenda. If you can accomplish everything you want in life by yourself, your dream is too small.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's so true. Yes.
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 And another quote that came out from I was listening to somebody else's podcast, and it was, no matter where you are, there you are. So it's kind of like, I was like, oh, okay, this is good. So, the challenges for me was always about, how do you talk about telemarketing and make it sexy when nobody likes cold calling? Nobody likes to receive a cold call. Yet I cannot honestly remember a time when I've rung somebody cold and they've been rude to me or put the phone down. And the reason for that is because of how I handle myself with my tonality and approach to creating that best first impression, is that people want to have a chat.
Yes. Who wouldn't want to have a chat with you, Wendy?
Absolutely. So it's my responsibility now, I feel, to help as many people as possible to be able to have that chat the way that they are comfortable having that chat. Not to copy how I do things. I can share how I do things, and then they can adopt that and bring that into their own personality style, business solution offer, and make it their own.
Yeah. So what's been your biggest learning through your business journey?
I've only just realised this, actually, Brenda, and that is that trust yourself. Any doubt that you have when you go and seek out advice or support is likely to just reinforce your doubt, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking to go, well, that doubt's okay.
Yeah, so don't waste the time going and finding other people to tell you that you're right. Just believe yourself and make it based on that.
What has allowed me to see that is, my business is my business. I don't really talk to my husband about it in any great length. I might sort of, oh, this is what I've done today and that's what I've done. But I don't talk to him about strategy. I don't talk to him about the finances. I don't talk to him about my plans or anything like that, because one, he doesn't understand it. And then when he does start to try to talk to me about it, because he doesn't understand it, we get into an argument.
Yeah.
And it's because I trust what I'm doing. I don't need his permission. I don't need his acceptance. I don't need his judgment. And that judgment is why I say to trust yourself, because my podcast, it costs money to produce. It costs time and so much more effort and energy than you ever imagine. But I knew it was absolutely the right thing for me to do in my business. And part of the reason for that was because I had nobody else telling me I shouldn't be doing it. I trusted that it's the right thing to do. So you've got to apply that feeling that you get in just knowing, even if you can't put words on it and explain it, you just know it's the right thing to do. Stick to it. Don't go with your guts. Don't fear. Absolutely.
Ignore the naysayers. So that's interesting. Interesting you talked about your husband there, because my next question is, who are your biggest supporters? Who have been your biggest supporters in your business?
Me, I'd say, and the clients that I work with, because I'm 3 years ago, I went on a mental health first aider training course. And it was in part because when I start working with a client, where they are an owner-managed business, for example, I know I take it personally because my business is me. As an owner-managed business, they're actually taking it really personally that although it's the business's money that is paying for me to do the job, it's personal. It's still their money. And it's a big ask and it's a big trust that goes along to say, I'm going to give you this money. You better give me what I've asked for. And the reason that I did the mental health first aider training course was because I was taking the responsibility further than I should on their behalf. And it was about trying to sort of set a boundary. And that really did help me sort of separate where the lines are in terms of, you know, what my responsibility was and what I'm accountable for. Because I think responsibility and accountability can sometimes bleed into one another. And
absolutely.
You lose sight of the end goal that you're working towards. And that's been what has really sort of propelled the last 3 years. Even having 2 years of a pandemic, is being able to say, look, I get it, but we'll do it together. So it does feel like, you know, I never feel like I'm working for somebody. I'm always working with them. I hope that answers your question. I don't know, it did actually, but
yeah. So you're the supporter of your customers, of your clients. Yes. So who supports Wendy?
Well, they do, and this is the thing, isn't it? Is that by me supporting them, they get the results. That actually sort of fills me up. That's my cup.
Yeah, I get it now. So what are your ambitions for the future?
Oh, good one. I would love to be leading a happy life, perhaps not full time, be financially free, using the program really to do more, helping more. I think it's that instead of the one-to-one, the one-to-many. Secret ambitions. Oh, I'd love to do a TEDx talk. I just don't know what to talk about.
Me too. There was one in Aberdeen last year, and I was shortlisted. I was nearly there, and then I got cut for the.
What was your topic, Brenda? What did you pick?
I was talking about comparisonitis. Stop comparing ourselves, comparing our city to other cities, comparing our industries, comparing our business, comparing ourselves. It's holding us back, holds everybody back, comparing with others. And the only comparison we should be making is with the person we used to be.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Isn't it strange? I think I've got to just give it some thought.
A great message. That your whole reason for being, the message that you have, that it's all about conversations. Perfect TED Talk.
Yeah.
Get on it. Get on it.
What do you talk about? I guess probably just need to sit down quietly and put some more thought into it. It's on my blackboard, along with I'd like to go open water swimming and start to do that. What else? Oh, I'd love to get a supporter, a sponsor for the podcast.
No, that's a good one. Put that out there, listeners.
Yes, I would love that.
Looking for a sponsor for her podcast. Good idea. I need to put that on my board as well.
Yes.
So, you know, the purpose of Scale It Up is to inspire other women to step up, to start and scale their business. You know, it's going to make a big difference to the economy if women match men. What do you think we can do to make a difference to this? Bring about this revolution, if you like.
Oh, blimey, Brenda. Well, personally, I believe that I would have been way more successful had I have had a more modern family, so we put it like that. I've got a very traditional husband who goes to work very early in the morning, does a physical job, comes back, expects a cup of tea when he comes through the door and his dinner made and everything in the house just so. So, of course, when you are then a mom and you've got the school run and then you work as well, your day shrinks.
Absolutely.
So I can only say what I've said to my eldest daughter. I've got two daughters. One's nearly 28 and the other's 13. Says, I'm 15 next year. She loves that. We're all trying to turn the clock back. She
wants to be older. Absolutely.
And what I said to Meg, really, when she was growing up, was, look, you've seen the restrictions of the dynamics of how we live our life in terms of, what Rob expects of me as a wife to him and a mother to the children. So you really have to have a clear idea of what your expectations are going to be if you're going to share a life with somebody, that if you have children, you share it and the responsibility. You solve those problems together, because this is kind of where I think it's the root of women saying that they get, passed over for promotion or, the same salary as a man, is because historically and culturally, the women are expected to pick up that maternal side of the family and children and run into little Johnny who's got to be picked up because he's just been sick in the playground. This is where we've got to level up.
So do we need to be stronger at saying, no, I'm not going to do it all? I have my career, my business as well. Or is it going to come a bit, I have two daughters also, and I have a son. So is it how we're bringing them up so that in the next generation of mums and female business owners don't have the challenges that we've experienced?
Absolutely. And even now, Meg's, she's very happy. She's been sort of, she's had her own home for 3 years with her partner, and there's talk of a family at some point. I'm going to be a naughty nanny. But even the way that they have gone into running their home, it's not, well, I earn more money, so I'll put more to the bills. They split everything, so it's a 50-50 footing on everything. So every decision that they need to make, whether that's running the house or a job change or going out at the weekend or can we afford this, it's then a shared decision. And that will be how they will run the rest of their life together. And if they could, and Mega's just said, well, if Aaron didn't do that, then we won't be together, because that's her expectation of a successful partnership. Because, when you do, it doesn't have to be, it's a partnership, isn't it? And if you look up the definition of partnership, it is equal.
Yes. So there's some big cultural changes to come around. And I think over the next generation, it's happening. Let's just keep pushing at that.
Yeah, just trying to instill it. I can still push back now. I push back and say, well, no, Alice is 13. She's got homework to do. She comes in and I can work till 5 o'clock. That opens up my day to allow me to get so much more done and be productive. And I'm quite strict with myself. One of the things that the mental health first aid trainer, Amanda, she said, it was a 2-day thing, and she set us a task after the first day. And she said, I want you to go and put your phone in another room after 6 o'clock so that you are present with your family. And that is what I practice.
I'm going to write that down.
Because, there's another thing about running a business is, oh my goodness, I said earlier, it's so personal. Actually, it's intrinsic and will bleed into everything that you do. You'll go on holiday and you'll be panicking that something is happening and the sky will fall down while you're not there, because it can only be you that does it. You will go to bed at night and you'll have a great idea and you'll have to, write it down. Your brain doesn't clock in and clock out in the same manner that an employee does.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yes, because the business is part of you.
So you have to have some self-discipline, or all the other things that you're working for get lost. So in actual fact, I want that leveling up, because I feel so sad for all those men out there working all those hours to provide for the family that he hardly sees and isn't present, even if he's there at the breakfast table with his laptop doing, or the kids are going off to school. Bye. He's not present.
Oh yeah, just so much great messages that you've shared with us, Wendy. Yeah, listeners, just have a think sit down and have a think about these issues that Wendy's raised on how you're running your business and how you're running your life. And how
we all have choices. It's about deciding to do something about it, I think.
Is that the lasting message you want to be leaving the listeners with?
Absolutely. Trust yourself. The most important conversation you can ever have is going to be with yourself.
Oh, we could have a whole other podcast on that, Wendy. I totally agree with you. Totally agree. My final question, as I ask everyone, is there anything that I should have asked you that I haven't asked?
I don't think so. I think we've had a really lively conversation. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Asking me to come along. It's been great fun.
Thank you. It's been great to have you involved with Scale Her Up. Really delighted to be associated with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks for listening to Scale Her Up, the Female Entrepreneurs Show. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and please join our Facebook community at Scale Her Up. Please connect with me, Brenda Hector, on social media and drop me a message to let me know you're enjoying the podcasts, or even better, pop a wee review on iTunes. I'm going to finish by reminding you, only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs are female, and men are 5 times more likely to scale their business to over 1 million in turnover than women. If we started and scaled our businesses to the same extent as men, it would add 250 billion to the UK economy and provide millions of jobs. Ladies, you can do it, and we're going to make a massive difference.